Let us now see how evaluators are meant to evaluate proposals submitted to OpenCall 2. They will get an evaluation form, which looks like this, filled in the first page with the acronym of the project and the title of the project, the short name of each participant, its legal entity name, and its country. And they will provide scores for the 3 criteria that we have in the OpenCall: relevance, impact, implementation. Each of them can have a score ranging from 0 to 5 with a threshold of 3. Their sum is the total score of the proposal with a threshold of 10 and a maximum of 15 points. Any proposal that fails to reach the threshold in each of the 3 evaluation criteria or in the total score is considered a non-qualifying proposal. So applicants must be very careful to see what the instructions that we give to evaluators are so that they can maximize their scores and avoid mistakes that they can avoid. Relevance has the following subcriteria: motivation and objectives, infrastructure and key assets to be protected, methodology and cybersecurity tools, cross-border interactions. Methodology and cybersecurity tools has 2 points maximum and the others 1, for a total of 5 points. Evaluators, after they have provided the scores, they are asked to provide a description of their overall impression that they got from the application and justify their scores where necessary. We start with motivation and objectives, where the applicants are meant to provide the motivation for their application, to explain to us why the project exists, and describe their objectives. Their objectives are meant to align with the expected outcomes of the EUDOROS OpenCall, meaning to elevate the cybersecurity preparedness in entities across the EU and embrace the culture of sharing general and sector-specific cybersecurity information and knowledge that may support the prevention, detection, response, and recovery efforts of other organizations. Expected outcomes number 1 and number 2. The perfect score of 1 point is awarded if there is convincing and relevant motivation, and objectives are well articulated and relevant to both expected outcomes. If something is not achieved perfectly, then the score can be 0.5. If this is not done very well at all, then the score can be 0. There are additional instructions about how evaluators should perform their tasks. For example, in order to award the score, they should look at sections 1.1 and 1.2, but not the rest of the application. And we come to 1.2, infrastructure and key assets to be protected. Cybersecurity recipients are meant to describe their IT/OT infrastructure and provide a list of 5 key assets that are to be protected in the project. If these are of high relevance, then 1 point is awarded. If something is missing, let's say, if, for example, there is an important cybersecurity recipient, but they did not propose a very significant set of key assets, then 0.5 points will be awarded. If there are cybersecurity recipients that basically do not really have to do much with IT/OT systems and they don't really have any key assets of note, then 0 points will be awarded. Again, there is evaluation guidance, but evaluators are expected to read carefully, and applicants should do the same. Then we come to the main part of the relevance section, which covers the cybersecurity preparedness services that are going to be offered. And there are 2 layers. One is the layer that says, is the job done? Is what is being described sufficient? Is it very good? Is it insufficient? That's part of the story. And you have to answer as an evaluator. One will have to answer this for personal training, for security testing, for threat and risk assessment, for incident monitoring and response, and for information sharing. This is, as I said, one aspect of the story. The other is to what extent the EUDOROS tools are being used for this purpose. It's fine if other tools are being used as well. It's highly encouraged to compare those tools with the EUDOROS tools and tell us what can be improved in our tools and where our tools are better than the competition. This is the ideal scenario. What is not okay is if other tools are being used without any feedback given about the EUDOROS tools. These projects are meant to validate the EUDOROS tools, and if this is not done, then this should be reflected in the score. So if the EUDOROS uptake of the personal training offerings, the cyber range, the cyber hygiene, the GDPR training, this is not sufficient in the application, then the score here should be insufficient, meaning 0. If it's sufficient but not very good, then 0.1. And if it's very good, then 0.2. If you add the various scores for the various lines here together, you get the total score, which you can see an example of here. And there is additional evaluation guidance below. Then we go to cross-border interactions. And here we note that we have requested applicants that have cybersecurity recipients in different countries to describe interactions between key assets in these different countries. And for each interaction, the evaluator is meant to consider how important and critical they think it is and give either 0 points if this is a completely trivial and insignificant interaction, 0.1 points if there is some substance to it, and 0.2 points if this is a critical interaction that it would make sense to try to secure in the context of this project, something that you can list as one of the key achievements of the project. So for each of them, the score is up to 0.2. There are 5, the maximum score is 1. Here, let's note that the interaction between key assets can be indirect, so it's not necessary that two banks speak to each other if they want to transfer money from one to the other. There can be an intermediary. This is a common pattern. Let's move to impact. The sub-criteria are direct cybersecurity preparedness impact, competitiveness and benefits for society, dissemination and communication. Starting with direct cybersecurity preparedness impact, here we see the impact of providing the services to the cybersecurity services recipients. If we have important, essential entities of an AS2, for example, among our cybersecurity recipients, and they are engaging in a project that is protecting their infrastructure, this is a very high impact project. Because if there was a disruption in this infrastructure, then there would be a very negative impact in the EU economy, society, and so on and so forth. So this is the highest score. If there are other large or medium enterprises that also have important cybersecurity infrastructure, then again, 2 points should be awarded if the project protects them sufficiently well. But there are also instructions for how fewer mark, 1.5, 1, or 0.5 may be awarded, or even 0. Competitiveness and benefits for society looks not just at the cybersecurity recipients, but also at the cybersecurity providers. Both can become more competitive as a result of engaging in this project. Cybersecurity recipients because they are more secure. Cybersecurity providers can benefit from the project and they can benefit from the exposure it gives them, providing services to high-profile cybersecurity recipients. This is especially true for smaller cybersecurity providers. Communication and dissemination. Here, we do not expect a very scientifically oriented dissemination and communication plan, but we do want to see every opportunity for promoting both the EUDOROS project, the sub-project, and the idea of collaborating in order to enhance cybersecurity preparedness across Europe. All activities that are in this framework would be very welcome. Scientific dissemination, of course, is also quite welcome, and it can actually be included in this plan. For implementation, we have the work plan sub-criterion, the personnel to be engaged sub-criterion, and the efficient use of resources sub-criterion. The most important one is the work plan. And here we need to explain that we have provided the skeleton of the work plan in the application form for applicants. We have provided a detailed list of deliverables and their descriptions, which they are not meant to change. What they are meant to do is assign leaders to work packages, assign leaders to tasks, and provide detailed descriptions of the tasks. The work plan has 3 work packages. The start and end months of these work packages are fixed also, and of the tasks within them. So it is basically the task descriptions that must be detailed and explained in a convincing manner that the consortium is going to take care of all the things that they need to do in order to achieve the level of services that they have described in the relevant section. There are detailed instructions for the various services and also about how the maximum score is affected if the EUDOROS services are not being used properly and we are not obtaining feedback in accordance with the task descriptions. There is a sub-criterion for personnel to be engaged, and here we want to ensure that the mix of personnel is such that can deliver on the promises of the project. And here we want evaluators to see to what extent the project is as ambitious as its budget implies. If the EU contribution is used in an efficient manner, before deciding this, we ask the evaluators to list the budget amount, the number of personnel trained, the important essential assets being protected by risk monitoring and security testing, and by continuous monitoring, and use this then as a guide for how they assign a score. So if 2 proposals have the same basic KPIs as in here and one has a lower budget, then you would expect that in addition to what the text about the efficiency of the use of resources says, that this is taken into consideration. And that's it. So the scores from the various sub-criteria are meant to be copied to the table for its criterion, and this will give the score for the criterion, and the total score of the 3 criteria will give the score for the proposal according to this evaluator.